happening, it's finally happening. Hi, my name is Sarah. Welcome to my humble abode. Today we're going to be doing my favorite thing in the world, which is talking about 21 Pilots. In lead singer Tyler Joseph's words, 21 Pilots is an American musical duo from Columbus, Ohio. But to me and thousands of other listeners, 21 Pilots isn't just two guys from the Midwest. Genre-pushing, convention-challenging, and committed to their DIY approach, 21 Pilots consistently impresses, whether sonically or narratively, in the live setting, and even in the community they've established online and in their shows. Since their humble beginnings in 2009, 21 Pilots passionately advocated for seeking beauty despite life's hardships. Both Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn have been very open and vocal about their own struggles with mental health and illness, so much that the majority of their fan base find comfort and support through their music in terms of their own mental health. Both Joseph and Dunn never settle for what's good enough. They always go those extra steps, above and beyond, whether that manifests itself in the attention to detail in live visuals, music videos, or more recently, in the narrative and fictional religion they have created and arced over their last few albums. Today, we're going to examine that very religion, Vialism. We'll unpack its nuance and complexity, compare its ancient roots in Zoroastrianism, and look toward what's next as the band closes out this particular story in their upcoming album, Clancy. All right, I know what you're thinking. Sarah, really? This is about a mysterious religion that we know nothing about? Are all these songs just full of theological, pious, God-fearing jargon? Is this just worship music? And let me tell you, oh no! But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We have to cover some of the topics and typical themes 21 Pilots write about in order to understand this religion's basis. Now, Tyler and Josh grew up in pretty religious households. Their families were Christian, the kids attended Christian high schools, Josh played in a few Christian bands, and Tyler was heavily involved at his church even after starting 21 Pilots. However, both questioned their faith and explored this doubt in their music. But sometimes the old tools a person uses to tackle specific issues must be modified as they grow and evolve. This is where narrative storytelling and world building came in for the band. As they slowly but surely progressed into the spotlight in the mid-2010s, Tyler and Josh needed new ways to compensate for their insecurities, merely past the music. Tyler coped by creating Blurry Face, characterized by red eyes and black paint on his hands and neck. The paint placement is significant and symbolizes Tyler's anxiety about the music he makes. His voice is a pitched-down version of Tyler's and can be heard on many tracks from Blurry Face onward. Similarly, Josh has his own version of a Blurry Face type character that personifies his anxiety, which fans nickname Spooky Jim. By manifesting these doubts into tangible personas, those problems became more manageable to reckon with and to compensate for. But what happens when you need a vehicle more extensive than a character? What happens when your insecurities are too strong, your questions too intricate and immense, too hard to carry? The band's answer was to create a narrative dealing with the things that they have been the most outspoken about over their career: mental health and faith. Now, because the band is so adamant about mental health and suicide prevention, both in personal and fan experience, it only makes sense that the fictional religion in this story would deal with that as well. This religion is Vialism, where followers' primary goal is to take their own life, and through that act, achieve the most impact possible. A person's death is celebrated, and suicide is glorified. The narrative is established in Dima, a fictional city located in the more extensive continent of Trench, whose terrain largely resembles the makeup of a human brain, and whose name, in Tyler's perspective, means a middle point. Not quite where you were, but not quite where you want to be. The city of Dima is divided into 9 districts, each ruled over by one bishop. Their names come from each song on the cover of the previous album Blurry Face, except for Nico, named after the French group of mathematicians under the collective pseudonym Nicolas Bourbaki. Elements of this group's work are referenced in several of the band's songs, including the null sign and the dangerous bend symbol. Dima is surrounded by the neon gravestones of those who fully committed to Vialism. These people achieved the glorious gone and are celebrated at the annual assemblage of the glorified. Their bodies become available vessels for the bishops to use, so while they may seem immortal, their souls survive from vessel to vessel, like a parasite needing an available host. It's also interesting to note that there doesn't seem to be any suggestion of an afterlife in Vialism. However, it could be argued that achieving a glorious gone and living out another life through the bishops could be seen as an afterlife. As a group, Nico, the head bishop, and the other 8, often referred to as Nico and the Niners or the United Vialist under the sacred municipality of Dima, enforced this religion on the citizens of Dima with red coats, black paint, and by way of dancing around and worshipping neon light. Many have tried to combat the bishops, such as the resistance group called the Banditos, led by the torchbearer, Josh. These former citizens don camouflage, yellow duct tape, bandanas, and torches with real flames, saving those willing to leave Dima behind. Their signature yellow symbolizes hope and ease for the citizens who can see it. The bishops, however, can't see yellow. The process of leaving is more complex than it sounds, though. If you're fortunate enough to discover what's beyond the walls and try to flee, you'll most likely be seized by your bishop and smeared. Black paint will be smudged on your body, in Tyler's case, on his neck, and you'll follow your bishop back to Dima in a trance, slipping quietly under their control and into their vicious cycle with no memory of your escape. Nevertheless, breaking out of the trance is possible. We see this with Tyler in the jumpsuit music video. He spots yellow flower petals falling from the banditos and becomes realized. He understands what's past Dima once more. The defiant act of leaving is called a failed perimeter escape. We witness this revolt firsthand with Clancy, a character fans have come to know and love throughout the narrative. Clancy was a citizen in Keon's district, and we witnessed his many attempts to break out of Dima through his letters on the website DMA.org. Clancy earned several failed perimeter escapes and continuously broke the Vialist code of conduct for years. And after 3 years of silence, he committed fully to Vialism and took his own life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everything sounds very bleak and dire, and at this point, that's to be expected. Dima is a monochrome city. It's gray. It's devoid of life. It's full of idol worship and death. But Tyler figured out a way to fight back, a way that uses the bishop's power against them by utilizing different creatures and trench. Established in the last album, Scaled and Icy, Tyler harnessed the power of psychokinesis to take down Dima and the bishops from the inside. He discovers this power after the events of the Saturday music video, where after performing against his will for the annual assemblage of the glorified, the boat is sunk by a giant dragon named Trash, first initially seen in the music video for Shy Away. Here's a clip where Tyler talks about the importance of trash.
Actually, I have this little dragon like totem figurine that I've been staring at, and my theory is that like if I can get to a place where I'm looking at him and I'm creating something, and all of a sudden he can grow and then actually fly around the room, and then where I am, I transported to a completely different place. It really is the power of creativity, the power of imagination, and ultimately the power of music.
Now, because trash is a transformative symbol of the power of creativity, this dragon posed a significant threat to the bishops in their reign. So what did they decide to do? First, the bishops seized the bodies of dead citizens and posed those bodies as the real bishops. Then, the fake bishops drove the boat during the assemblage while the real bishops worked from inside Dima. Finally, Keon seized Trash and sank the ship. Unfortunately for the real bishops, Tyler and Josh survived. So instead of trying to talk things out, the real bishops decided to kill Keon's. Meanwhile, Tyler and Josh wash up on Voldsoy, an island unlike any other part of Trench we've seen so far. The water and air are ice cold, the terrain is wilder and more rocky, and there are even strange creatures called Ned, a neurological expansion device. These little guys managed to wiggle their way into the story after the music video for Chlorine, where Ned was introduced as one single creature who also represented Tyler's creativity. These creatures show Tyler how to harness creativity to seize Keon's dead body and destroy some of the vials in Dima. Tyler continues to wield his newfound ability of psychokinesis for good in the newest music video for Overcompensate, where he educates the young citizens of Dima and recruits them for the resistance. He seizes Clancy's dead body while still outside the city in Trench as he and Josh head to the newest location, Paladin Strait. It's also important to note that Tyler's eyes turn yellow when he is the one seizing, and red when he is being seized. For example, in the music videos for Fairly Local and Stressed Out, Tyler's red eyes imply that his body is being seized to manifest as Blurryface. To our knowledge, Tyler is the only person in the story who can be seized while still living. That's why he's such an asset to the bishops. One of my best friends, Kip, actually said this really succinctly in a voice memo that he sent me last night, so I'm going to insert that right here.
So, the thing is, we don't really know for sure what's going on there, but my personal theory is Josh can't, because we've heard from multiple people, including Mark, that Tyler is the only one who can do that so far that we know of, which could imply that maybe Josh can, and we just don't know that yet. But Tyler's the only one who can do that, and that's why he's so valuable to both the Banditos and the Bishops, because he plays a very vital role in what each of them are trying to aim for and go for. And that's also why Tyler uses that ability in Overcompensate, to like educate or whatever. But I think personally, Josh can't, but Tyler gets nervous and he gets scared because he knows what happened to the last Clancy very vividly, because the bishops made him take over that name and were like, okay, you're gonna be Clancy, and you're gonna make sure that everyone does what we want them to do. And that was the whole, being locked in the room behind the blue door and write this record and then perform it for everybody. But now he's like doing the same thing, but like flip-flopped for the Banditos, and like seizing and taking on a name in order to spread the Banditos propaganda and like their view. And I think he's nervous because he knows that this literally got someone killed the last time that they tried to do that. And so if he can't see Josh when he like seizes someone and like does these things, he pictures he's there so he's not alone, because in Overcompensate at least, none of the people in the auditorium seemed to acknowledge Josh at all. They were all focused primarily on Tyler and what he was doing throughout the video. And at the end, they take off his mask and it's revealed that he was seizing Clancy, which is obvious. But we don't see Josh anywhere. And I think that's just because Tyler pictured and imagined Josh was there, so he wasn't like going through that whole process alone. But that's just my own little, that's the only way it makes sense to me, because Josh can't do that. Otherwise I feel like he would have done that a long time ago to get Tyler out of these situations when he was still in Dima. You know what I mean? Unless he's just not very bright, which is a possibility. I don't know. I'm yapping, but that's what I think.
Okay, so another music video dropped while I was editing, and that is for the song Backslide. Basically, the whole video just reinforces that very cyclical nature of mental health and trying to metaphorically feed someone else even when your plate is empty. Tyler buys bread from Ned's convenience store and attempts to ride his bike to Josh's house in order to give him a roll for the patties he's grilling, but Tyler gets stopped along the way by Blurryface and his own storm of insecurities. By the end of the video, Tyler has nothing left to give Josh and turns around, going back to the store and starting the cycle over again. And that's it. We're caught up to the present. We'll find out what happens next in the story on May 24th, with the release of Clancy and the rest of the remaining music videos for the album. Okay, I know I just threw a lot at you, and I'm very proud of you for making it this far, but I know you still might be thinking, alright, big whoop, real religion, fake religion, what does it all matter? What real-world connections does it have? And I'll tell you, you'd be surprised. Vialism shares many common roots with Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, established around the 6th century BCE in ancient Persia. Now, I don't have time to go into all the nitty-gritty details, but here are just a few of the most striking similarities between the two. First, Zoroastrianism is a heavily ethical religion rooted in dualism, the fight between light and dark. Everyone in Zoroastrianism emulates elements of Asha and Druj, which approximate to our concepts of good and evil. Tyler embodies this idea with how he characterizes himself. Nico and Blurryface represent his pitfalls and insecurities, concepts of Druj, and Clancy represents his journey toward truth and goodness, emulating Asha. Zoroastrianism's creator and sky god is Ahura Mazda. The religion was founded by the priest Zarathustra, or Zoroaster in Greek. He was an artist, a poet, and for all intents and purposes, our modern equivalent of a prophet. His revelation of Ahura Mazda, or divine wisdom or truth in some interpretations, happened to him on a riverbank. This parallels Tyler's revelation of the Banditos and becoming realized in the river during the Jumpsuit music video. On that note, water and the elements are imperative to Zoroastrianism in the trench world. Water is so sacred and pure. According to an article from authenticgathazoroastrianism.org, quote, waters and their libation in Zoroastrianism are connected to memory, inspiration, profound wisdom, and godhood. This belief plays out in the narrative, particularly the sentiment of memory and wisdom, with Tyler's river revelation, his call to action during the Saturday music video, his washing up on the island of Voltsoy, and his seizing of Keons on the beach. Even in a recent letter, Tyler says that the starting line is, quote, where the water meets the sand, and the finish line is just across a new location, Paladin Strait. Just as water is pure in Zoroastrianism, so is fire. This manifests in the Dima storyline at the start of the cycle with a music video for Heavy Dirty Soul. In this video, Tyler blows up the car driven by Nico, but revisits the vehicle at the end of the Jumpsuit music video, reinforcing that very cyclical nature of his escape from Dima. Fire is also associated with the Banditos, who use their torches to guide citizens into trench. Even in the outside, there's a shot at the end of the video where Dima burns to the ground. Flame is also a very notable metaphor in the tracks Nico and the Niners and Leave the City, where Tyler communicates his struggle against the bishops and their burning fire, representing his fight with mental illness. Speaking of the bishops, they also utilize fire in furnaces and blowtorches to shape their bulbs and vials of neon light, both of which can be seen in the Nico and the Niners music video. To go even further, in Zoroastrianism, fire, light, and radiance are protected and guarded by the angel Ordebesh. Likewise, in the Dima narrative, Josh plays the role of the torchbearer, a sort of guardian angel figure who is always seen carrying a flame and guiding Tyler to the truth. Two coinciding vital elements of Zoroastrianism and Vialism are the Towers of Silence and the presence of vultures. Both religions practice a sort of sky burial, where dead bodies are laid for the vultures to devour instead of rotting on the ground. However, in Vialism, we know that not all the bodies are left for the vultures. Some are seized for the bishop's immortality and evil plans. In Dima, these towers are located in each district, and their layout is almost exact to the towers in Zoroastrianism. There are large circular structures with 3 rows of bodies for men, women, and children, and a large depository in the center for the bodies once the vultures are done with them, and only skeleton bones remain. If you zoom out of the Dima map, the neon gravestones surround the city, making Dima look like one large tower of silence, or in Clancy's words, a concrete coffin of a city. These vultures also play an extremely pivotal role in Vialism. Here's a clip from a press conference in 2019 where Tyler talks about their multifaceted role.
Yeah, the vulture is it's just an important part of the narrative of the record. In the city of Dima, the vulture represents so much to the inhabitants of Dima because it's one of the only things, only creatures they see that leaves, it comes back. And it almost becomes a sense of inspiration to see that vulture leaving the wall of Dima and being able to fly wherever it wants, and yet it still comes back. And so if you're from Dima, you look at that vulture as kind of something that represents who you want to become. But at the same time, when you see a vulture up close, I don't know if you've ever seen one up close, but they're terrifying.
They're tall too. Didn't they, like, they're like my size, kind of?
Yeah, they're not pleasant. I think that's just the idea of coming face to face with the fear of leaving where you're from and how scary that can be. And so the vulture is a very important piece to the narrative of the record. And then also there's this whole other kind of deep dive into the narrative that really hasn't been talked about much, but the vulture represents a lot of the religion that's involved in the city of Dima and is important to its existence. And so in a way it kind of has this double meaning of inspiration but also kind of evil as well. And it's, yeah, I don't have time to get into it.
Now, the last little tiny piece I want to touch on is the role of women in Zoroastrianism and how it parallels to the role of women in Vialism. Zoroastrianism allowed men and women an equal playing field. Language in the Avesta, the primary collection of text in Zoroastrianism, promotes egalitarian ideals, where women and men are treated equally in ritual, education, and in the Zoroastrian community. Although women cannot be Zoroastrian priests today, some may have even led rituals. Vialism takes a similar approach. Rather than being separated, Vialist women are integrated with the men in Vialist worship spaces. Women are treated no differently, which on its own would be a small victory, but the problem lies in Vialism's overall roots, which is in the taking of life. While female citizens' lives are taken no differently than men's, they are still taken all the same, adding to the overall tragedy entrenched in Vialism as a whole. However, as with anything, there's always nuance and two sides to every story. Some women perpetrate the vicious cycle of Vialism, and some fight against it. One such woman who feeds Vialism is Sally Carver. While merely a host for the body for the bishop's Carver, Sally still plays an essential role in the bishop's doing. She partners and co-hosts with another bishop in a host body, Dan Lisden, on Good Day Dima, a talk show saturated with color to overcompensate for the grayness of the city. Sally and Dan bring Tyler onto the show to entertain the citizens of Dima, which happens again later at the annual assemblage of the glorified, a, quote, performance at sea for the premier citizens of Dima. Conversely, a crucial female figure who fights against Vialism is an unnamed girl who appears in Nico and the Niners and The Outside. Many fans believe that she and the boy by her side represents the fans. This theory is amplified when they discover Tyler's jacket and Josh's drum set. Afterward, she and her friend become realized and are later revealed to be banditos as Dima burns to the ground. So what does it all mean? The vultures, the elements, the creatures, the towers of silence, the psychokinesis and resistance, the bishops, the banditos, the good, the evil, the morally gray. What's in store for Vialism? Tyler, Josh, the banditos, the world of Trench. Will Tyler and Josh break the cycle? Overcome their insecurities? Find a way to defeat the bishops or simply manage and compensate? We have one more album to wrap things up in a neat little bow. Clancy comes out May 24th, and the only way to find out how the story ends is by tuning in. I don't really even know where to begin with this because I just have so much to say, and I don't think I'll ever find the right words for it in my mind, but I'm going to try my best. I already tried to film this once last time when I was filming, and I just didn't really like what I was saying. So I'm going to try again. Basically, I wanted to take this last little segment of the video to talk about my experience with the band and how much they mean to me. So I grew up with this band ever since I was 13 years old. 7th grade was quite possibly the worst year of my life, for no apparent reason, but I can kind of get the consensus from all my friends that 7th grade was kind of the worst. And I actually knew about the band a few years prior, but because of my religious upbringing, kind of thought that the whole red eyes and black paint thing was a little demonic. Sorry, Tyler, it's not. I know what it means now. So, yeah, in the summer of 7th grade, I decided, hey, I need some new music. I'm going to try this out. And basically, I fell in love. Um, all the songs really meant a lot to me, especially self-titled. Regional at Best, especially. Regional at Best still holds a very, very important and significant place in my heart, especially the era. It really influences a lot of what I do today, my work ethic, my drive. It just really hits close to home for me. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. But what really drew me into the fan base and really solidified my purpose here with the community was Trench. Came out when I was in 8th grade. I was 14, and every time I listened to it, I just fell more and more in love. I mean, that's the mark of a good album for me. If I can listen to it all the way through, no skips, I love every song, and that to me is a timeless album, and Trench is always going to be that for me. Because of the story, I felt seen, you know. I really didn't have the vocabulary that I have today to describe the mental challenges and the mental illness that I was going through at that time. And, the challenges were a little bit different when I was 14 compared to me being 19 right now. But Tyler and Josh starting the conversation in a way that felt tangible, in a way that felt identifiable and real, to me, it was everything. It was so important. I could look to Dima and I could say, that is what I'm fighting. That represents my internal battles, and that is something that I need to move away from. And even today, Tyler really emphasizes a cycle, how this is something that he's never really going to break. He can try. There are ways to compensate. He can backslide. But it's all about ways to find how to cope. Immersing myself in the lore and the community, and really discovering myself and growing up with this story was a way to cope for me. I've met my best friends through this band. They are some of the most important people in my life. Even though I don't get to see them that much, the shows that we share together, those precious moments, even though they're few and far between, they really mean a lot to me. They're the most precious memories that I will ever have, and I will stand firm in that forever. And I can't wait to do more shows with them. With each album cycle, it brings on a sense of excitement because I know that I'm going to get to go see them. I am going to share the love that I have for this band with people who love them just as much, who love this music just as much, and has been saved by this music over and over again just as much. There's just such a sense of pride in that. And I have such a sense of pride in them because I've watched them grow up for years and watch them grow into the people that they are today. And they've watched me grow into the person that I am today. And I don't think that I would be where I am today if it wasn't for them and if it wasn't for this band. I wholeheartedly believe that I would be a shell of a person, the shell of a person that I would be today. And this band taught me love in all of its forms. Tyler talks about love and how it's a scary thing, how it's something to wrestle with and something that takes on many forms, and it's something that is a challenge. It's something to work at. It's not all easy, but it can be. It can be if you work at it, if you nurture it, if you grow with it and with the people you are in love with. And I am in love with everyone that I've met through this band. And this band taught me what it was to love not only those people, but myself and what I create. Finding meaning in something that only I understand and only I can explain, and using that as a mechanism to keep going. Tyler and Josh exemplify that idea so well with this entire storyline. And I'm going to say it, I'm going to be really sad to see it go. As much as I'm really excited for Clancy and this album, this story is something that I grew up with, something that got me through a lot of the highs and lows of my identity and my mental health. And there will be other stories, there will be more music after this, other albums, and those will probably help me just as much. But there's going to be something really special about this one. I know there is, because it's affected so many people that are close to me. I guess what I'm just trying to say is thank you. Thank you to Tyler and Josh for giving me the people that I love, teaching me to love myself, teaching me to love what I create, and to love life. Because if I saw that person that listened to the music when she was 13 years old, I don't think she loved life. I don't think she loved life at all. She was alone. She felt, not seen at all. She was grappling with things that she didn't have the words for, and now I do. And I have people that support me, and I have support for myself, even in hard times. Even now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that everything's magically fixed. It's a constant cycle that you work through. And things are hard. I'm not magically better. There's highs and lows, but this band has shown me that I have the strength in me to tackle those highs and lows, to ride them until they're no longer so massive and exponential, to conquer all of those hardships, and to know that I have the power in me to climb those mountains and go through those trenches again and again until the mountains are less high, the trenches are less low, and to know that I always have people there waiting for me. And that sense of community, the Banditos, the clique, it's something that will live on in my heart and in the heart of many fans forever. And that is something so, so precious. Thank you from me, on behalf of my friends, on behalf of this whole fan base. I think I can safely say that we all owe Tyler and Josh a massive thank you for naming something that we didn't know we needed, or naming things that we were struggling with, and fostering a home for all of us. I think that being a part of this community is one of the greatest things that I could ever do. I think that everything I have created and everyone I've met and how I view the world, I owe all of that to this band. And I can't wait to see what's next. So yeah, that's it. If you couldn't tell, I love 21 Pilots. I hope after this video you love them just as much as me, or at least you learned something and you had a good time. My name is Sarah, and I'm proud of you. And I hope to catch you at a show. Bye. Yes, let me talk about how much I love 21 Pilots in my Caroline Polachek merch. What's that coming up from Voltsoy? Out of Dima. Josh Dunn. Josh Dunn.